Hello and welcome again to the Rider Review. This is Eric Currut Rider, and this week we're going to be taking a look at the 1977 movie titled Rollercoaster. Now, Rollercoaster is a suspense drama that's kind of like was released during the time of the disaster movies that had materialized in the movie theaters back in the 70s. You know, during the time when the Poseidon Adventure came out, Earthquake, and many others. Okay, it was directed by James Goldstone, and it was written by Richard Levinson and William Link, who are famous for writing several scripts for the TV series Columbo. The duration of the movie is about 2 hours long. We'll say 119 minutes long. And the stars of the movie are George Segal, Richard Widmark, Timothy Bottoms, who plays the villain in this movie. We also have voice legend Michael Bell and Harry Guardino, plus also some performers who would actually go on to become bigger stars later in their careers. I'm talking about Helen Hunt and also a very young Steve Guttenberg, who has an uncredited role as a messenger. Alright, here is my personal thoughts about this movie. After a series of severe casualties where an evil extortionist who just simply goes by the name Young Man, but according to a book I think he goes by the name of Edward Parnassus. Anyhow, this young extortionist, played by Timothy Bottom, is creating havoc at amusement parks, and the police and FBI send out a safety inspector as well as a recovering smoker by the name of Harry Calder, played by George Segal, to track down this deranged miscreant and to prevent him from causing more trouble and fear. You see, this young man who is an expert at bombs and explosives, and he comes across as an evil genius, and his modus operandi is to sneak into amusement parks, extort $1 million from the amusement park owners, and if they do not acquiesce to his request, he will simply take his charge on the amusement park rides while people are actually on the rides and are completely oblivious to what's going on. So he toils around with his explosives and other toys to blow up amusement park rides while people are still on it. Though here's my opinion of the movie, though it keeps up with the tradition of disaster movies that had shown up during the 70s, Rollercoaster, though I will not say is the worst of its genre, it is still nowhere close to being the best. The footage of the roller coasters may look nostalgic and fun to look at, and the locale was also quite superfluous. They had some that was filmed at King's Dominion, located in Los Angeles, and Ocean View Park, which is located not far from Norfolk, Virginia. So for people who live around that area, whether it be near King's Dominion or Ocean View Park, will probably say, "Oh my God, I remember riding this ride when I was young. Oh my God, it brings back so many fucking memories." But to me, okay, sure, it's nostalgic and all that, but to me, I never went to these parks, so it really doesn't really mean that much to me, I'm sorry to say. It never... Okay, sure, okay, it might be fun to look at in terms of nostalgia, but it never helps cure the narrow, thin plot and the poorly structured story. Running for 2 hours, it is actually custom made for people who have short attention spans, and the amusement park scenarios are just a ploy to make this movie full length. For a crime drama film, you know, it's quite boring to watch, especially coming from the script that was written by these two people who wrote Columbo scripts, Richard Levinson and William Link. And you know, I was a fan of the series Columbo. You know, Peter Falk was just simply amazing in this role, and you know, even though he's been gone for a couple of years, you know, I still miss him, and I know nobody could ever replace Peter Falk as Lieutenant Columbo, no matter if they ever decide to make a remake of the movie. I'm sorry to say, but Peter Falk will always be Lieutenant Columbo. IMHO. Like in many disaster films, this one has, of course, a talented ensemble of performers, but it's not, you know, like top-of-the-line well-knowns, but mostly, I would say, pretty much B-list performers. The main two well-knowns were George Segal, who actually does turn in a pretty good performance as a safety inspector trying to, you know, track down this madman. And of course, you know, the cat and mouse and the verbal exchanges between Harry Calder and the young man are actually quite engaging, you know, to say the least. But like I said, the plot is narrow, thin. It doesn't have any kind of inspiration, and it's kind of like something that we've all seen once too many times before. And I think it was actually executed more brilliantly in movies like Die Hard and other stuff later on. I thought like the phone scenes between Bruce Willis's character John McClane and I believe, I think it was Alan Rickman who was in one of the Die Hard movies. Their verbal exchanges were always very engaging. The one here between Harry Calder and the young man in Rollercoaster just didn't sit as well as I would have anticipated. There were, of course, some big names here. I forgot to mention Henry Fonda was also in this movie. Now, how could I have missed him? I mean, this guy is a film legend, an Academy Award-winning actor, and yet, when I was going through the list of the performers in this movie, I missed him out. Why? Because I just did not find his role to be really all that important. His performance was like diminished to a rather small supporting role, and his role did not have very many redeeming qualities, and it seemed as though as if he just did not take his part seriously, and I think he even knew it. And you know what, I don't blame him for not taking his role seriously. It just was not really that much of an inspirational film to me. And you know, like I said, I probably might be called down because of that, but you know what? This is just my opinion. If you have a contrary opinion to mine, you know, I'm not going to be the one to stop you. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions. Why should I be any different? Anyways, you know, like I mentioned, there are some big names that made their debut, well, early roles. We had a teenage Helen Hunt, who plays Harry's daughter, Tracy. We also had Steve Guttenberg was also in the movie, as I mentioned. He played a very uncredited, rather very small cameo role as a messenger, although he kind of looked goofy with that curly fro. Voice legend Michael Bell. He's, of course, the guy who did voices like Zan of the Wonder Twins. He's done various voice character roles on the Smurfs, including Handy, Lazy, Grouchy, Johan. He also did many voices on G.I. Joe and Transformers throughout the 80s and 90s. He also makes an appearance as Chuck Demaray, a small role, but you know, he's another aforementioned person that's in this movie. Richard Widmark, who has been in many films throughout the 50s and plays the role as the know-it-all, somewhat dim-witted FBI agent Holt, and the daughter of legendary acting coach Lee Strasberg, Susan Strasberg. She's in it. She plays the girlfriend of the divorced Harry Calder. She's also in it as well, and she also doesn't really get very much to do in this role except for act as sort of like a mentor to his daughter Tracy. During the making of the film, there's something I also want to mention. When my father went to see this movie, they used sort of a technological apparatus that was called Sensorround. Now, they used that during the 70s in the movies. So what they did was they boosted up the bass speakers just to louden up the explosives. So it feels as though as if the audience was in on the catastrophes. To me, it would be like something to keep the audience at the edge of their seats and, maybe just to, keep them awake. Which I actually find quite manipulative, to say the least. Because this movie was kind of boring, to be honest with you. And this is a shame because I love crime drama movies. But this one is enough to find ways to cure my insomnia. Also, I also thought that the technical features were not very appealing. I mean, like Lalo Schifrin's score was just a rip-off of Hitchcock's Psycho. And who would have thought that the glam rock band Sparks could act? Why did they even cast it there? Now I can't even get the song Big Boy off of my fucking mind. And people who are people who are amusement park aficionados will probably love the footages and the locales of the scenes. As I mentioned, King's Dominion was one of the filming locations for the amusement park scene in Oceans View Park, located in Norfolk, Virginia. But for the people who don't like or even care about amusement parks, will think highly nothing of it. Now, don't get me wrong, I love going to the amusement parks. I love taking a ride on the roller coasters, but if I'm want to go to an amusement park, I would be sitting there at an amusement park, not, just sitting in a theater. When I don't sit in the theater, I expect to watch a movie, not to feel like I'm at an amusement park. And I'm not particularly, 100% crazy about them either. Okay, there's not quite a lot of casualties in the film, even though they are, featured in the film, but we are only just treated to one, and that was at the opening scene. And we've kind of felt very cheated, because unless you're all stupid or hard at seeing, the people were obviously replaced by dummies during this graphic scene, which I felt, cheated and manipulated. I mean, it was quite blatantly obvious that all the people were replaced by these crash test dummies. And if you couldn't see that, then I pray there must be something wrong with these guys. Though it was not well known by today's standards, it's very dated, and it was released at a time when disaster movies were on its edge of becoming obsolete. There are those who might still feel that this is an exciting and compelling film, but I'm just not one of them. It's too long, too slow-paced, and even the use of Sensorround wouldn't help. So that's kind of ends my discussion. Please feel free to write back to me and tell me what you think, okay? Bye-bye.